Hi, my name is William Honolulu Jr., and I am the General Manager of BlackUSA.news. BlackUSA.news is committed to making sure that our community gets information about candidates directly from the candidates. As part of our continuing coverage of Maryland's 2022 election season, we will be replaying shows featuring candidates for office. To find out which shows will be airing when, please don't hesitate to visit www.blackusa.news. Please also make sure that you like and subscribe to make sure that you get updates from Black USA News. Thank you.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of People Over Politics. I have a special guest today. Of course, one of multiple guests, but a brand new guest. He is a friend of mine. He's also elected public servant in Howard County, so my neighboring area. And if you know anything about Laurel, it touches multiple counties. Oh, Shahan, thanks for joining. So, anybody who doesn't know Shahan, Sean, tell us a little bit about you. Say hello to the people.
Well, first off, thank you, Councilman, for your very kind invitation. I certainly appreciate our cross-county partnership and the friendship we've developed, and I was very excited to help get you elected to help in my little way that I could. So we appreciate that partnership. For folks that don't know me, my name is Shahan Rizvi. I am the current chairman of the Howard County Democratic Central Committee. I became chairman in June 2020. I am currently up for re-election to the Howard County Democratic Central Committee. I got elected first in 2018. I am now seeking re-election with a group of 19 others, and we are called Howard County United, running for the Democratic Central Committee as a slate. And so I'm excited a little bit to talk about our candidacy today and our candidate conversations. And outside of that, I've also been a Muslim community leader. Before I got into politics, I started my role as president of the Howard County Muslim Council, trying to create opportunities for the Muslim community to get to know their elected officials and their community at large. The Muslim councils came about shortly after September 11th, when there was a lot of prejudices and racism happening against the Muslim community post 9/11. So those Muslim councils formed to help bridge the gap and let the community know that we're like everybody else. We belong in this community. We're here to contribute to the community. We're your doctors, we're your business owners, we're your engineers, your lawyers, and we're all part of that fabric. That work slowly got me into the Democratic Party, and I'm happy to be the current chair of the Central Committee now in Howard County, and I'm looking forward to continuing to build on the good work that we've done here at the Central Committee.
Hey, Shahan, that was a very succinct, but you dropped a lot. So a few things. I'll start with the, one of the last things was, a Muslim leader, right? So you're a Muslim leader first, a Muslim community leader, and one of the things you did was raise awareness in your area around the needs of the Muslim community and the fact that it is a very diverse community, right? Like Howard County has become a melting pot, right? Like it's very diverse. The demographics, racially, even the economic the economic differences, right? Like you have varying of median income salaries depending on the areas. So Howard County is a very interesting place in the first place. But one of the things, I went to my first iftar this year. I got
Awesome.
invited, and well, actually, I ended up going to like three. This so I got invited to a lot, but yeah, there was great events in each area. The community came out, and from one thing that I saw is it was really a time to connect key stakeholders and like political leaders and public servants, to the Muslim community. And it was a very interesting experience because the thought is like you then get to understand their culture better. You participate in some of their cultural rituals. So that was very touching. And the thought is like we should do more of that. But I'll be honest with you. I went to some places and it looked like, just heavy campaigning, right? And I understand it's campaign season, but I went to one in Montgomery County, and boy, I thought, Prince George's had it bad, but the one in Montgomery County, I was in the audience, and half the hand raised, to speak, when they asked, were people running for office, of, someone representing a certain office. And I was like, sheesh, I had no clue. Looked around, I was like, Jed, but with that being said, one of the questions I wanted to ask you, I got a little topic. I got excited there. I got a little topic. One of the questions I wanted to ask you was, Howard County, what do you think the percentage of Muslim, in I guess is it Muslim and Sikh populations, or
Uh,
would they be under
so
the
they are
same umbrella?
separately, yeah, no problem, Councilman. They are separately categorized. You do have Sikhism as its own religion, in addition to Hinduism, and then Muslims are sort of their own religious group as well. Um, so the population is sort of hard to really measure to capture folks'
Okay.
religion, so to speak. I mean, we only have really off the census data from 2020 really to collect, but I can give you a statewide figure. We've heard numbers as close to 300,000 Muslims statewide. I believe your county, Prince George's, and Montgomery have probably the lion's share of the Muslim population, and there is a very strong and vibrant group of Muslim community activists in Montgomery County. So it is a population that's growing. And to your point that you were sharing, thank you for first going to these iftars. I think that's very important to see elected representatives like yourself participating and meeting different faith-based communities. I think the backbone of the Democratic Party, when it started, first off, they are African American women, the lifeblood and backbone of the Democratic Party. But another large part of that group that in its early inception was faith-based communities. And we've done a lot of great work with our Jewish communities and our Christian communities. And the Muslim community has been an opportunity these last decade or so that we've needed to galvanize and get involved, for a long time. Interestingly enough, I would probably tell you, probably a lot of Muslims used to be Republican post 9/11. The majority of things. After September 11th, we saw a drastic shift in a lot of Muslims coming to the Democratic Party, now possibly the majority. But interestingly enough, like it's still a very non-monolithic group. It is very diverse. And some of what we saw in these results were in the 2020 elections for the presidential. Despite all the hatred and vitriol the former president had done from the White House, we still saw in some of our records that upwards of close to 30% of Muslims still voted for Trump. And to me, that's just mind-boggling. But it is not a monolithic group. It's a very large group, but it is a group that more of our elected leadership needs to pay attention to. And just to give you a quick little piece of how my involvement kind of jumped from Muslim community activism to the Democratic Party, it was really because of Democrats. Democrats made that possible for me. I was president of the Muslim Council, and one thing what we did was we had a bipartisan umbrella. So we invited all of our elected officials in Howard County to participate in those events. We did annual food drives. We did blood health drives. We did interfaith dialogue dinners. And one thing I kept noticing at these events was that mainly Democrats were the only ones showing up. You might have had one or two Republicans come, but outside of that, it was majority Democrats that were coming, including a good friend of mine, our current county executive, Dr. Calvin Ball. He was on the forefront of that. Delegate Courtney Watson as well, and so many other leaders from the Democratic Party who became my first initial exposure to Democrats locally, our local party. And I said, wow, I love what they're doing. I love that they're here participating in our community's work. I want to be a part of that. So I started asking the current chair at that time, Abby Hendricks. I was interested in becoming Central Committee. I wanted to be a part of that. How can I get involved? She gave me some good sound advice. I applied for a vacancy my first time. I did not get it. The second time I applied, I did get it. And then I ran to a 4-year term in 2018, which I was then elected to the Central Committee. And that term is now getting ready to end, which is why I'm up for re-election. And July 19, I hope everyone out there in Howard County will vote for Shahan. Shahan Rizvi will be appearing on the ballot on Howard County Democratic Central Committee, along with my team, Howard County United, 19 others, which we'll be sharing some more information about that a little later. But just really excited about this work. It is a pivotal time for Democrats to energize and be ready to take on what's ahead. We do have a Democrat in the White House, and history has shown us it's going to be a difficult midterm, no matter what.
Yeah,
And we need,
that's
Mhm.
true.
Yep.
That's the truth.
Yep. And we need Democrats on the forefront. We cannot sit back. What I'm seeing and I'm observing here, even in our county and other places, is like there's a lot of still circular infighting that's happening among Democrats. And some of it's expected because of primary things. But I just hope once we're past those points of the primary, we all need to come together in the general. If we want to take back the governor's mansion, if we want to take back, uh, all sorts of elected offices across the state. I mean, this is the time. We've already seen what Hogan judges can do, when Republicans are in office.
Yeah,
We've already
I
saw
agree.
the maps. That was a big, quite chaos surrounding around that until that settled. And, we needed Democrats there. And so I feel it's incumbent upon me to, one, get reelected so I can serve and help the Democratic Party be in the best position to win back, you know, seats up and down the ballot.
Yes, Shahan, that was a great pep talk, and I felt like you definitely were leading the pep rally. I got to get you to lead the next phone bank.
Absolutely.
The powerful. So few things. Of course, you hit on a lot of great things. Dems, we do have a lot of battles that we are going to face in the midterms. You mentioned even, at the presidential level, there's definitely congressional level, which we didn't discuss. There is like I think I saw like 40, people, I think it was like 40, around 40, I believe, that weren't gonna run for reelection, for whatever reason. And so like a lot of those are gonna be open seats. And one thing is like, the Republicans, they've been gaining, power in different ways, right? Even though, we've taken power and, it's been a back and forth battle, they've been gaining power in different ways, right? So like, targeting these midterm elections where a lot of people are vulnerable, a lot of people are, not running. Of course, we have the majority, but the question always is how long, will the majority last? Especially at the congressional level, and then moving to the state level, you have, of course, a lot of challenges, right? The thought is like even at the governorship, right? Just starting at the top of the ticket, you have a crowded field, a lot of people vying. You have a lot of Republicans, and the thought is like, yes, everyone is free to push their message and present themselves to the community. And I do believe everyone has their chance. I don't believe that we should play dirty. I don't believe that, there should be backhand politics, right? I believe that like you should run a clean race and at whatever level. I think that you need to run a clean race in the sense of don't focus on what your opponent is doing. Focus on what you're doing. Focus on, your strengths, and how you can support the community. Because the thought is it's like sometimes you see like just even the Dems, they get so caught up and focused in what everybody else is doing or somebody else's past that you know they're not presenting their argument or their message or gets clouded. So the thought is after a candidate is selected in the primary, there will need to be some type of unity, and unity in which we haven't had in the past elections. Because if you think about it, how many times has a Democrat won the governorship in the last 20 years,
Right.
right? And so
No, great
yeah.
points, Councilman. One thing I can definitely comment, I do give a lot of credit to our current Maryland Democratic Party Chairwoman, Yvette Lewis. She's definitely had conversations with all of our gubernatorial campaigns to make certain that whoever emerges as the Democratic nominee for the governorship, they are going to support the Democratic nominee in the general. And I think that's one thing we've seen from state party leadership they've committed to. I'm certainly committed to do that on our county level as well. And all politics is local. These things do have to
All
be
politics is local. All roads lead home.
absolutely, and they need to be affirmed at these local levels, especially these sort of commitments. So I absolutely hear you. 2018, we did see a lot of what you're talking about, not really supporting the Democratic nominee at that time.
Well,
And
not just 2018, Shahan. In the last 20 years, how many of the governors have been Democrats in the state of Maryland?
Sure.
Right?
Right. Absolutely. No, it's been a challenge for us. And I think that support, that unity aspect coming after the primary is going to be very important. We're going to need to get ahead of that. That's going to be very important. Totally agree with you. And I think I've got some ideas of what we can start doing to help with those efforts. One, getting involved in local campaigns now, I think, is very important. So everyone gets the understanding of what it takes to run, to get in community, to knock on doors, to hear what folks have to say on doors, to hear what folks have to say when you phone bank. What is your community talking about? One thing I've learned, especially in Howard County, education is still very important. One of the hottest issues for us here locally. And so a lot of what we're going to see from different campaigns is hopefully going to be focused on continuing to build on the good education that Howard County has presented, especially quality of life. What I understand, at least in Columbia and other surrounding areas, median income here is about 120,000 now. It's pretty high, and that has its own onset of challenges, especially with affordable housing. Getting good thoughts on what that's going to take as we grow in our community. Howard County is one of the fastest growing populations in the state of Maryland, and there is going to be a need to help provide for that population coming in, how to get adequate services funded and taking care of that community.
Hi, my name is William Honolulu Jr., and I'm the host of the BlackUSA.news morning show and the president of the Grinding Gang Incorporated. The Grinding Gang is an organization that helps small business owners in the nonprofit and for-profit communities figure out how to make sense of all the noise. There's a lot of information out there, and sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. We help you develop business plans. We help you figure out what to do with a lot of the information you receive, and we also help you figure out how to become more profitable. We also host a variety of workshops. You can check out our next workshop on grant writing right here.
Shahan, of course, it's been great to have you. And you as a Democratic leader, and I think you have addressed, how there's many different factions, right? So just as, there's not a monolith of, Black people, right? There's many different, Black people, right? Like many different colors, many different shapes, many different beliefs, yada yada. And the same thing with Democrats. There's many different types of Democrats. And I think that like one thing we could realize is like Maryland, is what we call a Democratic stronghold, but I would argue that, it's purple sometimes, especially looking at the governorship. But I would argue that sometimes the establishment, being like the Democratic Party and, like some power and stakeholders don't give real outreach or leadership roles to like liberal Democrats, not progressive, but liberal Democrats. Like I feel as though like in some instances, not even some, I feel like a lot of instances, of course, at the state level, at the local level, you could see examples of this, but like, what is your thought and what is your vision on, being inclusive and, incorporating everybody, as the future of the Democratic Party in Maryland? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, sir. One thing I can definitely tell you is we need to go into these communities. I think there's a lot of lip service given to just pick, I hate to say it, token folks from each demographic and trying to say you have a sort of connection. But really, what I mean is really supporting those communities and going into them. I'll give you a perfect example. My slate that I'm running for Democratic Central Committee, Howard County United, we started by hitting the faith-based communities. So what we did one Sunday, we went to Celebration Church. We attended a Sunday service, me as a Muslim included, attending that Sunday service, which I really got a lot out of. It was an amazing experience with the community there. And we went in there to show them that the Democratic Party is here. We are running for Central Committee, and we are committed to getting this church group also involved in the process. How can we be public servants and leaders to you? And how can we build bridge the gap in bringing them closer. I would like to know who are emerging leaders coming out of those Black churches that can be ready to into leadership roles in the Democratic Party. Similarly, I've also encouraged the Muslim community, and it has done, not even on my own accord, elected officials here already done that they've been proactive about it and engaging, galvanizing the Muslim community, preparing them for different boards and commissions across the county as well. I think our current county executive has done a great job of that too, helping different faith-based communities and different demographics be representative on boards and commissions. So it looks like it. Howard County was very successful in being inclusive. In our last election, we elected our first African-American county executive, our first African-American state's attorney, African-American sheriff. I mean, these were things that we committed to doing, purposeful, and that only happened when we took community leaders like my slate currently, leaders from different aspects of community. We have people on my slate from environmentalists to social justice advocacy, to education, to teachers. We have teachers on our central committee. We've got lawyers. We've got a broad stroke demographic from different community groups that have come together to show and build a more inclusive Democratic Party. And if we can take that model that we're doing here in Howard County and start pushing that out across the state, where we say, hey, as a party, we're not just going to go to the churches. We're going to the synagogues. We're going to the mosques. We're going to the temples. Outside of faith-based community, we're going to make sure we are present in things that are happening on environmental initiatives, helping with all different aspects of our services and getting involved in the local process. You've got to be deliberate about taking folks from these communities and purposely bringing them into the fold. That's how we're going to build a more inclusive Democratic Party.
Hey, I love it. So 2 things. One, I've talked to many of my friends in the Democratic Party, me as being a party leader, especially in Prince George's, and, connections and doing work across the state, of course, to help get them selected, especially, young ones that have promise and young ones that are pushing the community. One of the things that I brought up to, I believe it was, Delegate Ruth, her and I, friends, but we were talking and I said, hey, quick question. She said, yeah, what's up? I said, why doesn't the Maryland Democratic Party have a platform? And, she gave me some long roundabout answer, right? Which I had heard before. And, one of the things that she said was like, we take direction from the national agenda, the national platform and the convention. And I'm like, okay, well, one, there's other states that have, a platform that, we could look to. And because a lot of people, one, ask, what are the values of Democrats? Like, what do we stand for? This, that, and the third. So I think that, like, having that platform, could help clarify some of that pretty much up front. And, from one, I don't think that there's any real desire nor will to create a platform, even though, it's mentioned that, hey, there might be something we're working on. I know they've created the leadership councils. They have the Progressive DLC Leadership Council and, the African Leadership Council. They have those things, but, those groups, I think, are just ancillary groups that don't really produce results necessarily. I think they're more just kind of like, groups in which they hope to have power, but the party will never really let them have power. So what are your thoughts as far as the platform and why we don't have a state platform?
Well, I think one, there is, I believe, some buckets of different causes and issues that is under the Maryland Democratic Party's platform. I don't know if they call it a platform exactly, but there is some points out there that specifically targets the entire state of Maryland. I do believe that does exist, Councilman, and some of it is rolled in from essentially the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, because that platform gets voted in on, if you recall, from all the folks that were sent to the Democratic National Convention.
Sure, absolutely.
Right? The at-large delegates, essentially, once you've elected them, and some that are appointed by whoever wins, in this case, President Biden, they vote on the national platform, the actual national democratic platform. That's how that gets authorized, assigned.
Sure,
And that's what we say, hey, this is what we nationally, as the Democratic Party, are going to pursue. That then gets rolled in down to specific buckets of what's going to be advocacy in parts of the state party. And then even further, central committees. Some of them have them, some of them don't. We have a strategic initiative, which does have some buckets of platform items in our county party as well. That was going to be displayed in our new website coming out very shortly in the next coming days. But the larger conversation I think here, Councilman, is this. We elected officials, right? Council folks, to effectuate change, to do things that we need, whether it's in Annapolis, whether it's in county governments, city councils. That's how change gets effectuated in those involvements, right? Now, you've got party apparatus and state party officials that really the mission of at least even our central committee here, is to facilitate the election of Democrats. This group that you elect for central committees and that gets roped into the state party. I mean, these are your folks on the ground. They work in the trenches on behalf of Democrats. Like, they are supposed to do the party building. We should be focused on new voters, bringing new voters into the fold, bringing in, connecting elected officials closer to their constituents, right? Because as a party, how am I going to change issues on, really specifically climate change? I think we could say we support climate change, right? And we elect elected leadership to take on those issues, to effectuate those things, right? And then it should be really the job of these parties to bridge the gap and bring the constituent closer to their representatives and to get them closer together. I think the function of the party should be the glue that holds everyone together, so they have a place to come together to see and talk to each other. I think sometimes in constituent services, some of that gets lost. You have direct numbers to council folks and delegates and whatnot, but you may not get all the issues from everybody. And this is another sort of avenue to help bridge that gap. I think communication is one of the things, is the most important key in party building that sometimes we may lose sight of. Yes, we have Facebooks and we have Instagrams and whatnot, but we need to be able to get closer to the everyday voter and the constituent. And if they call, we need to be able to offer resources to help them find who they need. If there's an issue happening in your district in Laurel, and I know somebody that's reached out to the party, hey, do you know how I can get a hold of this person? Who is my elected representative? A lot of people don't know who their elected officials are. It should be our job to let them know who their elected officials are, so they can meet them, so they can know who they exactly elected. You do a poll, you might not even know half the people who are running on these down ballot races. People don't even know who the county executive is in Howard County. I did a rough survey just to ask
I think that happens everywhere. I'm not going to just say in Howard. I think that there's sometimes in the counties,
But let me say this too. Like I did this is a very non-scientific survey, but I did talk to a friend who was just completely not connected to local politics in Maryland and everything. And I just straight up asked him, who are folks that you've heard for governor? Honestly. And I hope none of the campaigns here get upset with me for saying it, but honestly, they had two names. They had heard of Peter, they heard of Wes. Some folks had heard of Tom, but like that was the case. Like it's just
not everyone. Who are you with? You got a guy yet?
I am
or a girl.
Well, as the elected chairman of the Central Committee, we are.
I understand.
Keep that neutral. In my personal capacity, I am at some point able to do an endorsement. I'm still thinking thoughts on that if that's something I want to pursue. Right now, I'm running for my own race, and I would like to get elected. And so that is the most important thing for me right now, is to get elected.
Well, hey, if you didn't hear it first, I support Shahan, this good brother, and definitely good luck to re-election. So tell people how they can stay connected with you and get reconnected with you.
Absolutely. Please follow our campaign page, The People First Shahan Rizvi, on Facebook. I got a little bit of a mnemonic device to help you spell that name. The People for Shahan. It's S-H-A-N. Go ahead and spell that. That'll make it Shahan Rizvi, R-I, Z is zebra, V is in Victor, I. That's the People for Shahan Rizvi. Look us up on Facebook. On Instagram, look for us at Vote for Shahan. That's vote, the number 4, and then Shahan, S-H-A-H-A-N, Follow me on Instagram. Follow our political journey. We're doing some great work there. And I look forward to continuing to build a more inclusive Democratic Party and hope to earn your vote.
Of course, Shahan, appreciate it. Quick, lightning, quick questions. Are you going to support cannabis on the ballot this year?
I believe that cannabis has been, however folks feel about it, whatever it may be, I think we've disproportionately jailed a lot of Black and brown populations as a result of laws surrounding cannabis. I think that's a wrong that we need to right. And we need to make that correct. And yes, I support it. I think it should be on the ballot. I think we're probably going to find majority of Marylanders probably support it. I think Black businesses and minority businesses need to be on the forefront of when this thing gets settled and correct to be able to commercialize and take care of it, because those are the communities affected by it. I think some of the initial licensing, even for some of the places here in the state, were sort of done behind doors that I wasn't too keen on and happy to see. And I think we need to make that right. And if it does get through and work through, we need to make sure our Black businesses and our businesses of color, women-owned, minority-owned businesses get to reap the majority of the benefits of those things being enacted.
So, Coke or Sprite?
Coke Zero.
Oh, different. You different. Fun fact about Shahan, and we're getting you out of here.
All right. My fun fact is I am a rapper. My stage name is S. Diddy. Very inspired by Bad Boy 97. You can follow my music on streaming platforms. S. Diddy. It's always kind of started off really as a outlet release in late of the death of my late father in 2020. I started getting into the studio. Always had a passion from rapping. Like you, Councilman, I grew up in Prince George's County before moving to the great county of Howard County. My formative years were there. So in those schools, I went to High Point High School. I'm an alumni of that. I remember on Fridays, we had folks at the lunch table starting a cipher, getting ready to rhyme. Those initial times really got me inspired by it. My friends started rapping. I wanted to start doing poems myself. I did spoken word initially, and then eventually in 2020, after my father's death, I got in the studio. So that's a fun fact about myself. And I would like to leave the audience with a little Democratic rap that just to kind of talk about what's up with 2022.
Wow. Go for it. Democratic rap. Go for it. Bless us.
Let's do it. The fight for democracy never ends. When the opposition is voter suppressing, draconian election laws, filibuster the agenda without cause, abortion rights being put on full pause, Roe v. Wade, they trying to stall, reconciliation exercises full of surprises, and they wonder why the people despise it when all we really want to do is survive the eviction crisis. Climate change is real, but GOP rather drag their heels. How many more natural disasters will humanity have to master till Republicans wake up and realize cutting emissions matter? No appetite for political actors. We must all be factors or face consequences hereafter. 2022, be part of the change. Make sure your friends vote blue. Democrats the only party for reason, while the other side conducts treason each and every season. We're fighting for the salvation of our nation. No more time for demonstrations. We can't keep waiting. Let's vote our governor blue for 2022. Vote Shahan too. You know I'm coming through. Howard County Democrats, stand up and lead the way. The fight for democracy never ends. We need you back to save the day. Vote Shahan Rizvi 2022, July 19. Thank you.
Hey, he did that acapella, y'all. He did that acapella. I appreciate it. Dropping good political content and, keeping us awake. So, man of many talents, man of many passions. As you can see, Shahan, best of luck to you. Of course, 2022 is a madhouse, but see you on the other side, brother. See you on the other side.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Welcome back. So we have another guest, as promised.